I would like to welcome everybody back to the Trader's Mindset series. In our last episode, we talked about discipline. For any of you guys that did not catch that video, we'll link it up here at the top. It'll also be in the description. Today, we're going to focus on patience. And patience is going to be one of the most important skills that you'll need to master. It helps you keep from jumping in and out of bad trades and overtrading. People always ask me all the time. They're always like, well, but you're a scalper, so how does patience have anything to do with your trading style? Just because you're scalping essentially means you're in and out of trades quickly doesn't mean that you just jump into every trade. You have to have the patience to wait for your setup, find your entry. Like we discussed in the last video on discipline, the same thing really. I'm not saying that discipline and patience are the same thing, but discipline and patience go hand in hand. First, you have to have the discipline to follow your rules. Then you have to have the patience to wait for your setup and wait for your entry. If you're just jumping in the market, jumping a trade because you want to trade right now, jumping out because it went green or it went red or whatever the case may be, this is not having patience. I mean, you got to think about it, right? The market is always moving, but that doesn't mean that every movement is worth trading. I've been over this several times. I love it when traders come in and they'll see that, the market dumped or the market pumped, and they'll say, I missed that move. This never makes sense to me because unless you actually had a setup and an entry that you could have took advantage of at the top of this dump or the bottom of this pump, there's no way you would have got involved. You would have never been in that trade. And sadly, once the market does make a big move like that, they call it FOMO, right? And then now they want to jump in a trade because they missed that trade. They missed the dump. They missed the pump. And now they think they can get involved, get part of the move that already happened. And this goes right back to discipline the same way. If your setup's not there, you don't take the trade. And let's get into that just a little bit because we were actually going over this with one of the members of the server earlier. Here's how I look at it. You have your setup, and this is discipline. And I realize this was the last video. We'll get to patience just the same. We have to do this in steps, right? How do we arrive at all this? You have your setup. Check. You have your entry. Check. Your stop loss isn't over risking. Check. Now you enter the trade. What was it that we used in order to get here? It was patience. We had to have the patience to wait for all these things to work out. You got discipline. That means you don't color outside your lines. That means your setup has to be there. Your entry has to be there. That's your discipline side. Patience is waiting for those things to take place. And then you got risk management. We'll go over that in the next video. Risk management is making sure that your entry criteria are met and you're not over risking. The market always moves. I say this to everybody, and I'm sure you've heard it 100 times if you've watched my streams enough. How can you ever think of anything as a mistrade? And everybody says, well, everything's a mistrade. This is a mistrade. I'm asleep during London. Me personally, I'm asleep during London. If the market moves while I'm asleep, that means I missed my move. I've said it like this, and this puts it in perspective. If you were able to buy Bitcoin at what price? Think about that for a minute. What could you have bought Bitcoin for as we sit here today? $100, $1,000, $10,000? What could you have purchased Bitcoin for? And when you think about that, you say, okay, what is Bitcoin today? You missed that. Now that we've got that out of the way, nothing else is as big of a miss anymore. Just think about it. You missed that. So just because you missed $200 that you were asleep during London, because you need to get sleep as well, guys. We're going to have to go over that here in a few episodes as well. You have to have proper sleep. You have to have proper diet. You have to have proper exercise. These are the things that keeps you healthy as a person as well. You have to make sure you're in good trading condition just the same. Not catching a trade that happens while you sleep. It's going to happen all the time. And this is where you start losing patience. That's why I bring this up. You start losing patience there. When you miss a trade, that's when your patience starts wearing thin. You have to think to yourself, what have you missed in Bitcoin? How many thousands of dollars did you miss in that? And you sure aren't jumping into Bitcoin now because you could have bought Bitcoin at $100, so you're going to jump on the chart and long it now. You know that's not the case. That was a missed opportunity. You forget about it and you move on. Whatever that price was that you put in your head that you could have bought Bitcoin at, you don't remember that now. I mean, you do now that I brought it up, but you don't think every day, man, I missed Bitcoin at this price. You continue to trade. Same thing goes for the move that happened last night. The same move that you missed when you jumped out of your chair, went to the bathroom, hoping that nothing would happen while you were gone and the market moved, or you went and grabbed yourself a sandwich, or whatever the case may be. This happens all the time, guys. Can't lose your patience and let your discipline go just because the market moved. The market's always going to move. You're always going to get more opportunities. This isn't the last opportunity to place a trade. The market will always be here. Patience is about waiting for that perfect setup. It's not trying to chase the market as you miss the move. We're right there with discipline. Obviously, discipline is saying, I won't take a trade unless it is A, B, and C. Patience is waiting for A, B, and C to happen. And I hear a lot of times, I got in this trade, I got stopped out, and then it went my way. We can talk about a lot of different reasons as to why this happens that goes along with strategy. You guys already know all of that aspect of it. And if you don't, show up to my live streams, you'll see we go over it all the time. However, there's another side of it too. The temptation to jump into trades too early. A lot of people do this. You can take my style when I'm breaking lows or a candle flip in order to get into my position. You guys know exactly how I trade, so you see this. So we're waiting for the candle to flip. The thing is, if I were to just jump into that trade before the candle was to flip, or before we were to break those highs or lows, I have no reason to believe that that trade's going to work out. That's the whole point. When we see price go up and shorts start coming into the game, and we need to trade into those stop losses, new candle opens, we get a down wick, we take that flip has to happen. Those highs have to be broke in order to show us that our movement's going to be up to at least test those positions. So if we just jump in because, look, there's the down wick and we think that's all the lower it's going to go, let's jump in here so we get a better entry. It doesn't have to go up and flip. Nothing saying that the price has to go that way. That's how I look at it for my trading strategy. Whatever your trading strategy is, whether it's, let's say you're a breakout trader, you trade breakout, retest, continuation. Well, you know as well as I do, if that's the style of trading, you can't just long the breakout. You have to wait for the retest so that you can be part of the continuation. And this is the same thing with everything. Whatever your strategy is, you normally are going to have things that have to happen. This happens, that happens, and now you enter. And you want to make sure that you're always patient enough to wait for all things to play out in order to show you your entry. A lot of people like to do is see that price is going up and then try to chase the price movements. It doesn't meet their criteria at all. They're not patient enough to wait for it to meet their criteria, their rules. They don't wait for it. They just try to chase it. And if any of you have done that, you understand it never ends well. And we'll go over that as well. Sometimes, and this is what creates bad habits, and this is why I was talking in the Discord earlier, sometimes you chase the price, grab a position real quick, and it works out in your favor. Your criteria wasn't met. You had no setup there. There was lack of discipline. There was no entry. You jump in and you win the trade. When I say P&L doesn't matter, when I'm talking about what you made on your trade, When I say these things, it's because that doesn't matter. If you chase price and are undisciplined, don't wait for your setup, you're impatient, don't wait for your entry, take a position that your stop loss is too big, it doesn't follow your rules, so you're over risking, and the trade works out, that does nothing but build bad habits. We went over habit forming in the last video. Have a routine, so you create habits. Well, the same goes the other way. If you start creating bad habits, then that's what you'll continue to do. And you'll look at your green numbers in your account, you'll look at your green numbers on your P&L, and you'll brag to everybody. Talk about how you made this money, talk about how you made that money, and that's great. If you don't mind having 5 minutes of fame, guys. Is that what you're here for? Or are you here for the long run? And not be undisciplined, be impatient, over risk, not follow your rules, and expect to be consistent. It just doesn't work that way. Consistency comes from discipline, patience, risk management. All these things make you into a consistent trader. And if you continue to do things that are impatient, lack of discipline, over risking, all you're doing is forming bad habits. And if you form bad habits, you will not be consistent. Patience allows you to wait for your perfect setup. You're not reacting emotionally. And that's what we say about discipline too. Don't react emotionally. You have the patience and the discipline to wait for the perfect setup and entry. Always want to execute calculated trades. And we'll go right back to a topic that we hit on in the last video, and that is the temptation to overtrade. Discipline keeps you from this. Patience plays a big role in having that discipline to keep you from overtrading. Constant movement of the market is always going to make you feel like there was a trade, there was a long, there was a short, there's where I should have got involved. Look at where that price moved. Look at how I could have made money here. Look at how much money I could have made here. The great thing is people will say, well, I felt like that was probably the top. And that's great. If you felt like that was probably the top, was there a setup at the top? Was there an entry at the top? You have to think about these things rather than saying, I thought that was the top, and look, it went all the way down. That's great, but you have to have a plan. Just saying I felt like it is not a plan, just like we went over yesterday. And that's where patience comes in. It helps you resist the urge, allowing you to stay focused on quality, not quantity. And that's the big thing of patience. Overtrading leads to unnecessary losses. Not only does it drain your energy, guys, it drains your account. Patience will teach you that sometimes the best trade is no trade at all. And you guys see me do this all the time. And everybody always says, how do you just sit there and not take a trade, not take a trade, not take a trade? Guys, if you're in enough trades that you wish you weren't in, you'll learn to be patient and not just jump in trades. Answer it honestly, guys. How many trades have you been stuck in that you say, man, I wish I wasn't in this trade. I'd do anything to get me out of this trade. You guys sit there and hope while your numbers continue to turn red. You hope, please go back to my entry. Please go back to my entry. I wish I never would have took this. I'm never going to take it again. That's what patience is about. You have to learn from that. Why continue on with getting involved in these trades that you have no business to be in? The habits. You want good habits, not bad habits. You want to wait for high probability setups instead of constantly chasing the market. And that is what separates the pros from the amateurs. I'm not going to lie. That is the difference. If you're always taking high probability setups rather than just chasing where the market's going, you will go from an amateur to a pro. I hope that makes sense with you guys. Just jumping into trades and continuing to jump into trades is never going to make you consistent. And as I said in the very first video. Before discipline, the very first introduction video, I'm going to continue to go over consistency. You guys should already know me, know this. Consistency is key. And how are you consistent? By being disciplined, by being patient, not over risking. We're going to go over all these things in this series. But at the end of the day, we are trying to build a consistent mindset. And while we're talking about patience in our entries, we also need to talk about patience in our exits. You guys know how I talk about it, and this is normally an issue that a lot of people have. A lot of people trade RR. And everyone knows I don't trade RR. And if you've seen any of my streams, listened to anything I've said, that's just not the way I trade. If that's how you trade, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And if that's how you're managing your patience for exits, then by all means, if it's working for you, stick with it. For me, I don't hold my trades that long. Everyone knows this. However, you still have to have patience in your exits. It's still crucial to have patience. Just because I don't hold my trades for an hour, 2 hours, doesn't mean that I'm not patient with my exits. What a lot of people do is they will cut their trade as soon as they go into profit. Take today, for instance, on the live stream, when we were in the gold trade and managing it. That's how I manage all of my trades. What you're looking for is price stopping. You're looking for buyers coming in. When you're short, you want to see the shorts continuing to win as the price is going down. If buyers do come in, you want to see the stop losses ran and it continue to go down. This is what I'm looking at the whole time, is how the orders are coming in, where the stop losses are, and how the price is moving. That is how I manage my trades. I make it perfectly clear I have no intention to give money back to the market. Once I'm in profit, I'm not going to give a lot of that back. That's just the way I trade. But exiting trades with patience means trusting your strategy and avoiding emotional decisions. Just because you've went big into green, and that's why I always say drag your stop loss, drag your stop loss. That's what a lot of people do. Once they get big into the green, like you've got into a trade, and I mean, a number is different for everybody, guys, so I'm just going to use a dollar figure here. But a lot of people, let's just say that all of your trades that you've done in the past were $25. Well, once you get to a trade that is now $200 in the green, now you start struggling with wanting to close it right now. Just close the position. But you want to manage your trade. You want to continue to drag your stop loss, if that's your trading strategy, as far as it'll go. If it goes $500 into the green, great. $1,000 into the green, great. Take advantage of this situation, guys. Don't be impatient. Just say, oh, well, $200, most I've ever made. I need out. Don't do that. There's no reason for it. You have to have a clear exit plan. You have to have something that you use to enter and exit the market. For me, it's all about how the orders come in. I pay attention to the time. What candle's closing? Is the hour closing? I expect particular things to happen once the hour closes, once the half an hour closes. It's just common price action for me and how longs and shorts come into the market. The biggest point here is, guys, you have to maximize your gains while minimizing your losses. And you have to do it without second guessing and thinking, hey, should I close? Should I not? You have to have a clear plan. And as you guys see every day when you watch my live streams, obviously when I get into trades, they are super, super, super quick. The reason they're so fast, I always trade the candle that really moves. Everybody says, well, how do you do that? It's because I'm trading into stop losses, guys. For any of you guys that don't know my trading strategy, go watch the reality check videos. I have several of them on the channel under education. You have to be patient enough to wait for that move to arrive. You have to wait until the moment that these stop losses are going to be ran. That's when you enter. you have to manage through that position. Not everybody this is going to resonate with. Some of you guys are swing traders. Some of you guys trade this style or that style or whatever else, and that's great if it works for you. For me, I'm a scalper, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to still use patience. A lot of people think, well, you're a scalper, so you can take 100 trades a day. I absolutely do not take 100 trades a day. The only thing that scalping means to me is that I'm in and out of trades quickly. That's the only thing a scalper is. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you take 100 trades. Are there scalpers that take 100 trades a day? Absolutely. And more. There's nothing wrong with that either. However, I'm not one of those guys. I don't take tons and tons and tons of trades. I have to be very, very patient, wait for my setup, and wait for my entry. For me, it's more like sitting on the sidelines, watching the market go, and not getting caught up in the noise. And then I act quickly when my setup and entry appears, when my strategy shows itself. That's how I trade. And patience is basically what keeps you disciplined, keeps you from overtrading, and ensures that you enter and exit your trades without emotion. You guys just got to always remember, the market is always going to present new opportunities. You're always going to have a chance to get involved. You want to make sure that you're in the best position to get involved, that you're not just chasing it. And that's where patience comes in. And I got another quote for you today, guys. And this is one of my favorite. It's from Warren Buffett. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Just sit there and think about that for a little bit, right? Hopefully this resonates with everybody. Patience is key in trading because you want to wait for your setup and entries to present themselves. Now that we've went over patience and discipline, in the next episode of the Trader's Mindset series, we're going to discuss risk management. So if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay updated. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Have a great day. And as always, guys, stay consistent out there.